I'm interviewing today Dzovig Arnelian. She's a wonderful artist, gallerist, and very much involved in the art world, also as a teacher. You will enjoy immensely this interview because she's going to talk about so many things about her life and her art. See you in a bit. Dzovig, tell me about your journey, and let's start from the middle. About the shift from being just an artist and getting out of the university and having all this fear how I'm going to sell and what's the market. And when you worked in a gallery, you had this shift of knowledge related to how people buy, why they buy, and how much there are really people that love to buy art and to invest in art.
Yeah, well, that was a very huge shift for me because when I was young, in the university years, we thought that we're not gonna sell any of our art and that our job or our career doesn't really matter. So I was a little bit afraid of that. But when I started to work in an international gallery in Beirut, my perspective was totally different. And I've seen people buy art for thousands and thousands of dollars, and that was very shocking for me.
Eye-opening, right. How long you worked as a
I worked for 2 years and a half as a gallery assistant, and it was a huge part of who I am now, as a gallerist, also as an artist, as a curator, and as many things, because it really shaped the way I see myself as an artist and the way I see my career and the way I see others. So it was a very important experience for me, actually, and it really gave me the confidence to be who I am and to have bigger and higher dreams as an artist. This was the experience for me.
I know a bit about your trajectory, that your uncle paid for a course.
True.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about this resistance of being an artist in Lebanon and the Middle East. How you wanted to be an artist since you were young, or how was that from the beginning? Just give me.
I was around 12 to 13 years old, and
Yesterday.
True. And I was a person who gets bored very easily, and that was very irritating for my family and for myself because I didn't know what to do. So I started to draw, and I realized that every day I can draw something new, and that really kills off the boredom, and I can do something new every day. This is how I discovered that it could be an interesting path for me to take. And I was sharing some of my drawings with my uncle back then, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna pay for the tuition and you're gonna go learn art, you're gonna take private lessons with a teacher. And I was over the moon. And
He paid for a whole year.
For a whole year, yeah, he did.
Yeah, what did your parents say about that? How old were you?
I was around 13 years old.
Oh, okay, very young.
Yeah, I was young, yani. They were really happy about it. They were excited. They bought me some of the materials. They're very encouraging, and that was very important for me. And I come from a very artistic family myself. My dad is a full-time musician.
Yes.
He plays the saxophone, and he also works in maintaining musical instruments. He works in the maintenance. And my brother is a full-time musician. He also plays the saxophone. So I'm really used to living out of art and being really passionate about music and art and culture. So it's in our blood, if you want to say.
Yeah.
So it was natural for me and for my family. But of course, I didn't really decide at such a young age that I'm going to be an artist for life. What I did is I went to school. And then when I was in grade 12, I wanted to become a doctor. So I went and I took the biology and chemistry section, and I was like a nerd, you can call me. I studied really well. And then I realized when I'm in class, the teacher is explaining and I'm drawing on the desk. And I have no interest in what the teacher is saying. So I remember one time, actually, I've never shared this before, but one of my teachers, who was my math teacher, he said, like, what are you going to become when you when you're done with here, what are you going to go study? And I told him, I want to be an artist. And he laughed at me back then. And it really touched me because art is not taken really seriously. But
so he's so limited vision, and how much they don't have any idea how much they can limit the perspective of young people when these people, out of their own limitation and their own limited vision, they can just really block people from exploring their potential.
True, but for me, it was all about being happy, and I just really wanted to have a happy life. I really didn't care about what other people think about me, and I knew that making art will make me happy on a daily basis, and I felt like there is so much to share and to say and to express, and this is what I need to do for the rest of my life. And this is why I decided to pursue my education in art.
Yeah. So it wasn't about, career of making money. It was the love of making art.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then you had the shift. And you started, when did you start your own gallery? Like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, almost 3 years ago it was.
So there's a gap, sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
between working in a gallery and starting your own. How long?
Not a long gap, actually. I was already working for 2 years and a half in the gallery, and then the explosion happened. And unfortunately, one of the owners of the gallery passed away. It was very, very tough on the gallery, and the whole family moved.
Because of the explosion?
Yes, after the explosion, and it was very hard. And all of us, I was also in downtown. I had minor injuries. It wasn't a big deal, but it was life-shifting experience, and I almost died there, just like many other people who made it. And that was the moment when I felt like life can be too short, and this is why I need to follow my dreams if I want to have something for myself. And that is when I started to build the gallery, and once I was ready to go on my own, this is when I left my job. I shared with them my best wishes, and that's when I started to actually work full-time on my own.
Immediately out of the gallery, you started your own.
Yes.
That's interesting. And it has been like 2 years now?
Almost 3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
And it's not easy.
It's tough. Life in Lebanon, it's tough.
Yeah.
Imagine working in the art field. It's very tough.
I understand, because I research a lot about the market and what's happening. And people have this illusion, okay, I'm going to put my work in an online gallery, but being online is like being in your room. If you don't put a lot of investment in marketing and having people to see you, because people will only see your page or your website if you just grab their attention and take them there.
Absolutely. It is. Running anything online nowadays is a full-time job on itself. You really have to invest the time in photography, editing, writing well about who you are, and really marketing it into the adequate places as well, because you can do marketing and it can be not to the right people. So you really need to put a lot of effort to be online, but to be also visible for the people who care about what you are doing in specific. So it's a tough market. It's not easy, and it's a full-time job.
Yeah, I understand. I'm curious about dealing with art, not only as an artist. Give me a little bit of discoveries that you had and some things that most people don't know about, working with collectors, with people. What were the surprises for you selling art, either in the gallery that you worked or in your own? What were you couldn't believe that this is happening, or something you didn't imagine before?
Actually, a lot of things happened like that. One of them was realizing why some of the people buy the art. And it was very epic, because I had 2 incidents that are very different, but very shocking for me. One of them bought an artwork because it was only suitable with her sofa.
That's a classic downsizing.
Yeah, because you know the artist had put so much love and time and effort to make that piece, and to minimize the soul and the heart of an artist into a piece of furniture is so undermining and so, I don't know, I'm out of
Reducing the
words.
value, the cultural value of that work.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
because I am working with the artist. I've read why he has done that work and how deep that is. So it's very shocking when we don't even ask why the artist made this, and we just jump into buying it because it looks well in our home.
Okay.
So that was a little bit for me.
But
Hard
what
to
is the
conceive.
percentage of people that buy, that come to buy this kind of art? It's very,
Not little, actually.
there's the majority.
Yeah.
There's something I was thinking about yesterday. Unfortunately, all art is decorative art. Wait a minute. To a certain level, depending on who it is. But there is something about the real art, or when we talk of an artist that's putting himself or herself in the work, reflecting the moment, reflecting their life, it ends up being one of the pillars of culture. Nowadays, when we study our history, a history of Europe, of any country, we refer to art. Art builds the culture, and that's what people have to associate with the moments,
Absolutely.
other than words. Unfortunately, during the moment, majority of people, they want to just have it as a beautiful decorative art because their connection to that is shallow. That's how much they can see in it. That's how much they can connect or conceive from it.
True.
At the same time, that helps the artist to create the culture, to fix the culture, to provide the moment from his work, non-verbal work, to be able to provide that. Unfortunately, there's a distonation between what people understand, what is there, and what later ends up showing from the time of that piece,
Yeah, I totally agree because, we've sold artworks that were, for example, pure calligraphy composition based on poems, and people didn't even ask us what is the poem. So you can imagine how hard it can be on me to see that people are just buying it because it looks nice. This piece is beyond looking nice. It has a soul, it has its own song, it has its own poem, So, but as you have said, maybe later on it will have a deeper connection with the person, maybe not with the person himself, maybe with someone who will have it later on, and it might turn out to be part of the culture. And this is what we hope to have, with art.
Yeah. And I was watching someone, Jordan Peterson, saying like the artists normally they're ahead of their time, and they're putting out sometimes as a prediction, or sometimes as what people will end up conceiving or able to understand a while later.
True.
That's very interesting. Before going into your art world and your art practice and talking about Dzovig as an artist, what do you recommend artists in general to not worry about because of your experience as a gallerist?
This is a very interesting question, and not to care or not to worry about the selling while creating their artwork would be
Just
the
put it
best
out.
advice that I would give, because if you draw just to sell, then you're no longer an artist for me. So when you're creating art, put your heart and soul into it, and then once it's done and you're done, then you can worry about selling, but not while creating, not while you're in the process. Just be vulnerable, be yourself, put yourself and your worries and your difficulties out there, and eventually everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's very insightful. And there's this a little bit comes on the opposite side of that people buy the art. They don't buy the art, they buy the artist. They follow your story, they follow your struggle and all that. I think there is a portion of people that are invested in that. They are interested about the culture, all the deepness of your work. But as you mentioned, many people that just come, they like it, they buy it, they don't even worry about understanding.
True. What I've discovered is people buy for different reasons, but we can divide them into three main groups. Some people buy because it's nice in their home, it goes well with their furniture. Some people buy just for the investment. They know this artist is a rising artist and he's selling well. They imagine he's gonna sell better in future, so they invest in it. And the third type of people, which is my favorite, is that they buy the artwork because they fall in love with it. And they fall in love with the narrative and with the artist and what he's creating and why he's creating it. So it depends really on the buyer, but for me, my favorite type is the third type for sure.
Yes, as a culture, as piece of culture, as connecting to the artist, to the art in a deeper level, right?
True, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Photography of painting or painting of photography. Tell me a little bit about your process of painting from photography.
Yeah. What I do usually is that I document moments that are special for me. Maybe sometimes I just take photographs because it's fun to take photos. Sometimes I even take photos with my phone because I feel like it's a nice moment that I want to keep.
It's not, you don't photograph intention that I'm going to take a photograph to paint.
No, not really.
Okay.
Most of the time, no, I don't do that. I just take photos of my daily life. And then after a while, I go back to it. I go back to my phone gallery and I look at the images and then I ask myself which image would I like to make a painting of. And that's when I do slight editing, I think about the composition, and then I think about how I'm going to transform this image into an artwork.
Okay.
Size, using what material, and how it's going to end up looking like. So this is kind of my process from photography to painting.
Interesting. There's something I want to ask you, and you just tell me. I don't want to talk about that if you want. Tell me about your feminism.
Okay.
I want to understand Dzovig's feminism. What was the birth of that, and how is it evolving with time?
I think art comes from a very, very personal place. And I grew up with three brothers, and it was a very manly house. So it was, for me, it was really hard to find my voice through that. And this is why I've always had a passion to say that I exist and my opinions do really matter. And I am empowered because I'm a woman, and I'm not belittled because I'm a woman. Because, through the years, whether in school or university, sometimes you feel like you are less because you are a woman.
Like the comment of your teacher.
For example. So I really felt like I really wanted to feel that I exist and that my existence matters, and that my voice in particular matters. And this is where the birth of speaking out about women's rights, women empowerment, or criticizing our society began. And it began with my journey through art. Like every time I work on a new project, I express my ideas in different ways. But my recent approach is much more smooth or soft. But usually my approach was much more aggressive in the process of creation and in the idea.
Reaction?
I think so. It absolutely was a reaction to a lot of things that I've been through and a lot of things that I've heard or experienced myself. So I really felt like I needed an equal reaction to that.
So tell me, is it still the same, or you see some kind of shift through the years with the... I understand your point. We're in the Middle East, and we, even in a very small space, in between very, like 20 minutes far, you can be in a totally different century.
Absolutely.
You can be with people talking about things, and you go to the neighbor and they're in a different world, different century.
True.
About their conception, how they value women, how they value work, how they value life. I understand you. In my humble opinion, I think there's still some, holding to old values and trying to demoralize and belittle the artist, the woman, or anything that may threaten the certain people in their life. Is it still big, or you have like certain places and certain attitudes?
I feel that there is an improvement with women's rights and how we are perceived in society, but unfortunately in many places as well we still see that. I see that with my far relatives. I know women that are almost 50 and they still take their parents' permission to go out late.
Oh, come on.
So it's not far. We are not far from that reality, unfortunately. And they just think that because we're a woman, we don't need to go to university or have our own career. We're just gonna get married and do the dishes in the end.
Okay.
So unfortunately, this thing still exists, but
there's a
there's
shift.
an improvement. Yeah,
There's a shift.
There's a great
Yeah.
improvement, and we hope that through art and through culture, like time by time, it will get better and better. Hopefully.
Give me a little bit. What is your relationship with color? And you have other works mainly in acrylic, right?
Mainly, yes.
And now with the exhibition you have today here at Nelsie's Majaz,
Gallery.
you have some watercolors, and they're small in size. That is very nice. They grab you, they suck you in the setting, in their moment. It's very, very sweet, nice moment. And the colors that you use, tell me a little bit about that.
Usually I work with acrylics and I work with linen, but working with acrylic on linen usually takes a lot of time, especially that I used to work on big sizes. So I decided in my recent exhibition to work with aquarelle, but it wasn't like I'm deciding to do this. It was more of a natural process.
You like to experiment.
Very much.
That's
you can call me
wonderful.
an experimental artist.
Actually, in my opinion, to experiment is to stay as an artist.
Absolutely.
When you just fix on one thing and you stay there secure and safe, you stop being an artist.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry.
Exactly. So it was a very natural process for me to shift into aquarelle. The colors, actually, I was trying something new this time. I was a little bit using AI, and I was using some applications to modify the colors because I felt like I wanted to create a different reality, a reality that gives me colors that are different and they're a bit dreamy. I wanted to have this feeling, so I was re-inspired by photos that I used technology with. And
You changed the color, you created some filters.
true. And then I get inspired by those new realities, and I felt like the result was dreamy and soft, and this is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
This is why the colors are a bit different this time.
They're bright. At the same time, they're harmonious.
True.
There is harmony in them, despite being bright and strong colors,
True.
right?
True.
And normally watercolor, they are very soft. These ones they're strong. They're not that soft. Some parts are soft. At the same time, they suck you in. They invite you into the space. Despite being
I think
small size.
True. I think it is because they are small, because when we see a small artwork, we tend to come closer, so it just engulfs us within.
Yeah.
When it's a big artwork, usually the artwork is bigger than us, so we feel like we need to distance ourselves to see it. But when it's small-sized artwork, we have to go to see it, So we feel like we are more in the moment, we are coming closer to see the details, to see the colors, and so on.
Yeah. At the same time, there's something there. because your relationship to the subject and why you make these, that's why they have this intimacy, this intimacy with the viewer, and giving you the permission to an intimate moment.
True.
Despite being very normal cooking time, but it is kind of come in, right?
I totally agree, because in these artworks, I'm not just documenting any man, it's my man.
Yes.
And I am documenting moments of his life without really thinking about it, you know. I just find like beautiful moments. I find it beautiful when men make an effort to show love to women in different ways and in action, not in words. And I found that beautiful. And this is why I think I have this really intimate relationship with these works. This is why some of them called them very tender and very sweet. And I really wanted to have that. And I really didn't intend to make that. They just turned out to be like that. And I think that is even more raw and very genuine. And this is what I really like about it, you know. I'm not trying to show a man doing things for women. I'm just documenting a reality. But it's a smooth and nice reality. This is why we see a very raw experience through it.
Nice. I connect to that in a way. You have your feminist side about protecting yourself and fighting against any kind of classification. And here you kind of go not the opposite, but revealing to yourself some other side of relating with men. And you have this, I want you to say it in your own words, you just showing your fiance cooking. And there is this kind of admiration with delight of watching him do that.
True.
Which is a different relationship to men from your history, right?
I absolutely agree on that. And I believe that therapy and doing a lot of emotional work and work on yourself and on your past really helps you to grow and to explore things that you didn't know. And I really advise every person and every artist to have a therapist that is helping them understand their own art, why they are creating that, and what does it mean, and what is the process, and where they are now. And discussing this with my therapist, she said that now you see man as a friend. And that is a very important thing. And for me, this is a declaration of seeing man in a different way. A man can be a helpmate, can be a supporter and a friend, which is part of my text. And this is what happened here. This is why I have this new connection, because I've seen a new reality that I like. So this is the result.
That's very nice. That's why I asked you before your feminism.
True.
Because I could see this not shift, but this transformation, this expansion of connection.
True. True.
Right?
I totally agree.
And I find it interesting because you're working your own relationship to your fiancé, your own relationship to the size, the aquarella, the intimacy. And I think about how much this can reflect to people in 10 years, 20 years, about this moment. And how much it can show them, or the connection, or a picture, a window to this moment in your life, and as an expression of a moment in this year. Does it make sense?
It does make sense. Actually, a lot of people now, they ask me, how are you going to sell artworks that are this intimate and they are your partner? Why do you think you're going to sell something that is that vulnerable and that intimate?
That's not new for you. You've been doing many intimate works. I know your intimacy and you're showing vulnerability. And vulnerability, in my opinion, is not weakness. Absolutely. And you're showing that in your work.
True.
Because the nudes that you do, in my opinion. They're not about the body, the nudity, or just this stereotype of showing a naked woman. Your nude is about the moment. It's about intimacy.
Absolutely.
And they have all this, like, just have a moment with me. And you know, and getting back to what you were saying, I interrupted you. People, don't you worry about being vulnerable and showing out? That's what artists do. They use art to express what they wouldn't keep on saying about themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. For me, like if I want to really sum up all my experience with art, I would talk about vulnerability, and that vulnerability is my strength. And it's about everybody's strength, because when we know that we are vulnerable and we accept that, we become powerful as people, you know? When we accept all of that, sometimes we are weak, sometimes things are tough, and we are okay through that. And this is what I like to share. And actually, people connect with that because when they see your vulnerability, they connect with their own vulnerability. And this is why people buy intimate artworks, even if they are very personal. And if we go back through the history of art, like most of the art is about the people, you know, the models that they used, their friends, all the huge artists they used, people that they know, and a very intimate and personal experience to share with us, and now this is part of history.
And they end up being iconic works.
Absolutely.
That is part of the culture of the world and the history of the world. Being at that moment was their reflection, the artist's struggle or their artist's need to express themselves of a very intimate moment.
Absolutely.
Of them. I remember, you know, this reminds me about Modigliani. It reminds me about some portraits by Picasso, although he's not very intimate, he's so expansive and all that. But Modigliani did a show with nudes. They didn't sell anything. And they end up, was it naturally happened, or it was faked, that the police came and tried to not show the nudes because some people got irritated with that, and ended up bringing sales to those because it wasn't selling. And now we look at Modigliani's work; it's like fascinating, and it builds a lot in you. And at the moment, it was seeing just a nude.
True.
It's amazing.
True. Sometimes art takes time. Just like everything else, for people to really comprehend what you are doing and why you are doing it. I can start from my own family. When I started making nudes, they totally did not accept it. And they didn't want me to do any of that or share it over social media. But years later, when I exhibited a huge nude, and it was an auto-portrait at Rebirth Beirut, my mom just stood in front of it and she said, "I love it." And that was the least that I could expect from her. And you know, this is why I say sometimes art takes time for people to really see you and really see you through it. And sometimes we really need to give people the time that they need to really comprehend what we are doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. As I mentioned, you're right, and your mom could see that your nude is not about nudity.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's about intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're a teacher?
Yes, I'm an art teacher.
Okay. And I saw some lady who's talking, she was so much in love with your teaching, and she was so enthusiastic. Tell me more about that.
I had a lot of private students, and I had
art student learning to paint.
Draw and to paint. I've worked with many people. I've worked with tongue-tied children. I've worked with women who had Alzheimer, elderly. And my work with them, as blunt as this sounds, for me, I don't care about the art as much as I care about them. It's all about them.
It's therapeutic.
It's all about their emotional growth. It's all about them feeling loved and comfortable in my space, and to make them feel that through art, regardless of the result, because we really don't care about the result, we care about the process of what they are doing, why they are doing it, and to be able to talk about themselves through that process. And for me, that is very important. I've had many private students, but now I am an academic art teacher, if you want to say. I teach from PS3, like kids who are like 5 years old, till grade 5 at a school at Notre Dame de Lourdes. And it's a very different experience, but it's also very, very interesting.
So you're in the system now, in the school system.
But I'm breaking it.
Which one's on you? Yeah, what's your preference?
Very different, to be honest. But now, usually an art teacher in school, she would be teaching kids, come on, let's draw a flower today. Let's draw something for Mother's Day. Let's draw something for, I don't know what celebration. And I did that for the first few months, and I did not feel okay about it. And then
it's too shallow.
It is very shallow. This is why I discussed with the principal that I want to have my own curriculum, and I want to teach students about famous artists, and I want them to learn their names, to see their work, to see videos about them, and then to create their own interpretation of their art. And this is what we are currently doing. And I'm really surprised when kids come and they tell me, oh, we love the work of Pierre Mondrian, or we are interested to try something about Kandinsky. And seeing kids saying names they never heard before and trying to make art that is a bit different than what they are used to actually makes me feel proud and grateful to have that opportunity to do that work with them. You know? And even through the process, we discovered that some of the kids needed emotional support, or maybe a more professional.
It
appears, and we act upon.
What I can understand, you're uplifting the experience of art for children from something what used to be traditionally very shallow, into more deep experience to really make it as an option for them, if they would like, and a more therapeutic one.
Absolutely. Because, you know, in Lebanon, we lack true and genuine art education. And our children don't go to museums, they don't go to art galleries, they don't know the name of artists.
They stay on PlayStation all day.
So this is something that we want to break, and I even show them videos of other children going to museums, so it becomes a natural process for them. And I would like to see a generation where kids go to galleries and they see art and they know about it, and they know about the artist and why he is doing that, because that would create a better community in the future, hopefully.
Yes, I'm enjoying immensely this interview. You're having this exhibition at Majaz Gallery. What are your plans now? You're getting married. It's very important, a big deal.
True.
And what do you have in the future? You'll be teaching in the school as an art teacher?
Yes, for now I am a gallery manager here at Majaz. I will be supporting the gallery with its upcoming exhibitions. I'm also a teacher till the end of the year, but I'm also working on developing this project and to try to exhibit this work in Spain. Because there is a Lebanese community in Spain. They have a gallery called the Bloom Gallery, and they have invited me to have a solo of Yawmiyat Rajul in Spain. So I'm going to be working on that project.
That's very nice. What's the name of the exhibition now in English? A man's day by day, Yawmiyat Rajul?
Or the daily life of a man.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
That's
call it
nice.
like that.
And I hope it will still be there when the video goes out. But anyways, people can check with you if there's still any available to buy.
Thank you very much.
It was my absolute pleasure to have an interview with you, and it's the first of many. We'll be talking about so many subjects, so many things about art and the art world and the world in general, because there's something that art is not just about art, it's about life.
True.
And so there are so many things that are part of our living and expression and reflection that are included in this international language, which is art.
Absolutely.
So will we have a lot of interview together and a lot of
Pleasure.
podcast talk and good and bad things about people?
Sounds cool.
Thank you very much and
you
hope to
very
see you
much.
again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.